Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker and I'm your host. And as you know, I'm always looking to share new perspectives, new ideas, or just challenge you in some way so that you can work smarter and not harder, so that you can live in more peace rather than more stress. And today I'm excited to invite an old friend. So you guys are going to be along for the ride as we catch up, and that's going to be super fun. Paul Hoyt is with me today. And a little bit about Paul is he's a business consultant, a personal coach, and he specializes in helping solopreneurs and small business owners develop and implement their startup and expansion plans. He's also a passionate personal coach, helping others be the best person that they can possibly be. And that's because building a profitable, sustainable, and scalable business isn't always just about the numbers, right? Our lives and our businesses are totally intertwined. It's about becoming the person that you have to be to get the result that you want. So without further ado, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Penny. It is great to see you again. I think it's been a number of years here, and I'm very, very excited for the progress that you've made and the accomplishments you have, the books that you've written.
Oh, thank you.
I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while.
Well, me too. I'm on your newsletter, and I've just been so head down. I haven't done any networking or anything for so long, but I've noticed that we are in this path together as well, talking about focus, but not just from a task perspective, but also from a strategic perspective, from a spiritual perspective. And you have a number of books out as well.
I do. I've published 6 books. I've got 3 or 4 more that are in various stages of development. My latest one was published in December, called Surprises on the Road to Enlightenment, which is a collection of 80 little surprises, insights, little nuggets of wisdom that I learned along the way. Each one of them was a surprise to me when I learned it.
I love it.
I wanted to share it, with other people that, who knows, maybe there's something in there that will surprise them too.
Absolutely. Well, maybe you just open that door. Maybe you could share with us and share with me, since we're catching up, what is something since we last saw each other, which is probably a good 8 to 10 years, right?
I've been blessed to make a lot of progress, both in business and my personal journey over the course of the last 8 to 10 years. As I like to say, I've been trying to get my together for 50 years, and it's really starting to pay off. That's funny. The truth is, it kind of started to pay off right away. Then I finally found a way to relax. I gave myself permission to relax a couple of times a day. That's what really worked for me. One of the things that I like about the things that I've read from your teachings and your processes is the focus on physiology and the recognition that we have many, I call it layers of self. It's one of the modules that I teach in my mind sequencing program, that we do have layers of self, the physical layer, emotional layer, mental layer, and spiritual layer, and they're all very much intertwined. But when I first started my journey, the only thing that worked for me, I couldn't really meditate because my mind was way too active. But I did find a way to finally give myself permission and just relax my body, starting at my toes and working up my body from my toes to my nose. And once I had my complete body relaxed, I was able to slow down my thoughts a little bit and calm my thoughts a little bit and give myself a chance to heal and rest and recover at an emotional and mental and spiritual level as well. And then I meditated for a number of years after that and got stuck on my meditations for about 25 years until I had some epiphanies in my mid-50s, about 20 years ago or so. So in one of those epiphanies, by the way, was very similar to one that you expressed in one of the things I read about you, and that is the energy of thought. And that's one of the things I really want to speak to you about today.
I want to come back to This idea of just permission to allowing yourself to relax, because we are in such a fast pace, got to get it done, got to do more, right? Sort of mindset of chasing productivity. And I was there too. Like I was trying to do that extra thing. And now I call these moments to relax, these moments to give yourself permission to recharge or to rethink about something, or I call them reset moments.
Yep.
Right? Because that's what it really does, is it helps us to recharge and to reset our thinking and reset our physiology. So you said you had a hard time. So then maybe you can share, like, what was the thing that allowed you, and everybody might be different, but that allowed you to give yourself that permission? Like, did everything blow up and your health deteriorate, or did you find something else that helped you to open that door?
Well, I would say the key there was kind of desperation. I woke up when I was 19 years old and realized that I was unhappy just a lot of the time. Very tense, very anxious, very temperamental, very sarcastic and bitter and cynical. And I could have a little fun every once in a while, and sometimes that fun was at the expense of other people. But I just woke up one day and figured out that, gosh, I'm only like really kind of happy and relaxed maybe 20, 30 minutes a day. That's only 2 or 3%.
Wow.
And the rest of the time I'm nervous and stressed out and grumpy. And, even when you and I met 10 years or so ago at a business conference, I caught myself, or other people caught me, looking very grumpy and very serious and very focused and determined and not lighthearted and kind and easygoing at all. So when I first learned my total body relaxation meditation, it was one of those, man, I gotta let go of this stuff. I gotta give myself permission just to calm down and relax and let it all go and be there when I get back. It'll be there when I get ready, but I'm going to give myself permission for 10 or 20 minutes to just deeply, deeply relax and recover and heal. And it made a huge difference. I made a lot of progress between the time I was 20 years old and the time I was 30 years old.
Awesome. So I just want to do a shout out to the listener. So if you're feeling, just take a moment to check in with your emotions, with how you feel in your body. If you're finding yourself to feel really anxious, really stressed all the time, overwhelmed, right? These are triggers. Like Paul was just saying, these are triggers to help you say, this is exactly when you need those reset moments. You need to build them into your day so that doesn't become who you are. Or at least for the moment, it's not who you are down deep, but it's how you're showing up. So it doesn't have to be you. So just remember that. I think that's really good. You talked about giving permission. You gave yourself permission. So I want everybody out there to give themselves permission. I've been using lately the football analogy. There's 2 halves to a football game, and they have 3 timeouts allotted to take whenever they need to during those times. So I'm like, we could just play it kind of like a football game. It's the first half of your day. You get to take 3 timeouts whenever you need them, and you should take them, right? Because they could change the game. And then the second 2 halves. So for those of you listening, give yourself permission to take that time.
Yeah, that's a lovely analogy. I haven't ever heard that before. I really love that. I'm going to give you great kudos and credit for that, and borrow it and give you credit whenever I can.
Absolutely. Borrow with pride. Whatever we can do to make people happier and more at peace, right? So let's come to the energy thought. You said that resonated with you, and what was it that struck you, and how have you been using your energy of thought to create what you want in your life?
I've been blessed to have a few epiphanies over my life, and one of them happened in 2009. I'm sitting in a pretty quiet state, and I came across a word that really triggered an energetic response, and that word was jubilation. I read that word, and I immediately felt a little zing, a little pick-me-up, and I went, wow, whenever I say that word to myself or see that word, I feel an energetic shift. And oh my goodness, words are labels on concepts. Words are labels on energy. And if we can think the word with our rational mind, we can trigger an energetic response. Started to think, I said, man, there's got to be other words like that. So I started looking at all of the synonyms for jubilation, and then the synonyms for those words, and the synonyms for those words. And I came up with a list of 2,362 words.
Is that all? 2,362?
Well, but they represented about 1,496 concepts at the time. Triumph and triumphant, and success and successful, or are very similar. And I begin to focus my thoughts on collections of words. And one of the things I learned very quickly was that if I would combine synonyms, that they was more powerful than a single word. So I could think to myself, courage, 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 courage. But it was much more powerful if I thought to myself, courage, daring, bravery, boldness, and then courage, daring, bravery, boldness, gumption, spunk, and pluck. So if I added that spunk and pluck on the end of that, a little bit of cheerfulness, a little bit of feistiness, it was even more effective. So I found this technique of energetic focus, I call it today, that allowed me to have combinations of words, typically synonyms, that immediately shifted my energy. One day I was out walking my dog and trying to do a shift of energy, and it just wasn't working at all. And so I thought, wait a minute, well, I don't know why this isn't working. What do I got to do first? Because I'm kind of a project manager, computer programmer. I think of things in terms of sequences and project plans. Okay, so what do I got to do first? And my answer came back to me, well, first I've got to see the gap. I've got to see where I am today and remember where I could be. And then I have to believe that if I focus enough time and attention that I can close that gap and I'll feel better when I do. And then I have to choose to actually commit the time necessary to make that shift. And once I've made that commitment, then I can focus and make the shift. And then I'll be the person I want to be. I'll feel the way I want to feel. And that became my golden sequence. I see, I believe, I choose, I shift, I am. I see, I believe, I choose, I shift, I am. And with that came the realization that it was sequences of energies that were far more powerful for me than just combinations of energies. And a recognition that every time I had a combination of energies, there was a particular sequence that felt just right to me or felt more powerful. So courage, daring, bravery, and boldness feels more powerful to me than bravery, courage, daring, and boldness does. There just seems to be a right sequence.
Also, the way the words, like the way that they roll off your tongue sometimes, is that there's a better order. I hear what you're saying.
So with that, I created my mind sequencing system, which teaches people the art and science of creating sequences of thought and action that can be used to shift their energy. And I have dozens or hundreds of sequences that I can use whenever I want to do it. But even more importantly than that, I built up the habit deep in my subconscious mind. I know that I can shift my energy whenever I want. I know that there's always a path to do that. There's always a sequence of thought and action that allows me to be the person that I want to be. As I say, in my mind sequencing system, is that you can learn to think the thoughts you want to think so you can feel the way you want to feel.
Absolutely.
And be the person that you want to be.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, they're like, yeah, that's not the right order, that you feel first, right? I've had this discussion a lot. They're like, you feel first and then you think. And so they give themselves this sort of, well, I can't help it. It's just the way I feel. So how do you address that? Because I also come from the perspective of actually we give something meaning. That's why we feel something. And that's then how we behave and act. And meaning, that's our thinking, right? Our thinking gives that meaning. And of course, unless your hand is slammed in a door, that's a different kind of feeling than what we're talking about. So how would you answer that if somebody said that's not the order and I can't control how I feel?
I would say that I agree with the first and I disagree with the second. So I do believe that the subconscious mind, the emotional mind, is much, much more powerful than the rational mind. That there's all kinds of estimates out there, 88%, 95% of anything and everything we do is at a subconscious, almost automatic level, that the emotions do come first and then the thoughts follow. The thoughts are more reporters and historians than they are generals in command. So I agree with that as the first part. But the cool thing about it is that we can retrain ourselves at a deep subconscious level. Mm-hmm. We can retrain ourselves to respond with loving kindness instead of with vindictiveness and anger when we get into a tense situation. We can retrain ourselves to control our subconscious mind and reprogram ourselves. Personality transplants take a long time, but they can be effective. They can actually happen. Some people are blessed to go to sleep one person and wake up the next. mourning a completely different person. Eckhart Tolle is an example of that. The Apostle Paul is an example of that. Byron Katie is an example of that. People that had a burning bush struck by lightning, changed overnight experience. But for the rest of us, it's about changing ourselves at a deep subconscious level, one thought, one prayer, one meditation, one intention at a time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's funny. It struck with me because I talk about one reset moment at a time, right? So each one of those things, right? One thought, one prayer, one reset moment, right? We make it so complex and it doesn't have to be, right? We don't have to get from here to wherever we're going in a nanosecond. We just need to recognize the progress along the way and take those intentional steps.
Yeah, and it's much like saving for retirement. You can either have a plan that says, I'm going to strike it rich and win the lottery, or you can have a plan that says, I'm going to save a little bit with every paycheck. I put a little bit away every single time. We can invest in our own happiness, invest in our own productivity, invest in our own health, invest in our own spiritual growth. One prayer, one meditation, one kind thought, one reset moment at a time.
That's right. Trained you well. So, I know you don't know the concept because I'm just coming out with this book in September, but if you had to define from your experiences and your perspective, how would you define a reset mindset?
I would define a reset mindset as a willingness and an eagerness to realize the power we have to focus our attention and shift our energy anytime that we wanted to. That's kind of the mind sequencing mantra. So your reset mindset and my mind sequencing mantra and the whole mind sequencing approach are very much the same.
Yeah.
I think talking about the same capability that every human being has, just in slightly different languages. So to me, a reset mindset is that recognition of the power that we all have to take a moment, step back just a little bit, change the focus of our attention, reframe that experience, and step into a different response and different perspective. One of the things I do that I just love to do is whenever I feel a little bit of tension in any conversation, or if I want to feel a little boost of energy, I just say to myself and say to the other person silently, I love you, I love you, I love you, be happy, I love you, be strong. I love you, I love you, I love you, be happy, I love you, be strong. And I find myself repeating that over and over and over again. And that gives me the energy that I want to have in that interaction. So that's an example of a reset mindset, is that willingness to change and that belief in yourself, your confidence that you can step into a greater level of performance, a greater level of health and happiness, a greater level of kindness and wisdom anytime that you want.
Well said. Well said. And I would agree with you. We are on the same path. We're just using different language. And there's a lot of people speak about the same thing in different language. And I think that it attracts different people so that, we're on a mission, right? So that people can be their best self and be happier and achieve more without the stress and the anxiousness that seems to come along with it today. So at the end of our time, I want to get your information. But if there was one question that I didn't yet ask you, what would you want to share that I didn't yet ask you that question?
I'd love to share what I call the path of 3 questions, which is a simple sequence of 3 different questions that people can ask themselves to help shift their energy. It's another example of mind sequencing, but a very, very powerful one. Question number 1 is, who am I when I'm at my best? I want everybody to have a vision of who they are when they are at their best, because I believe that we all have this greatness within us that shows up a lot of the time or just some of the time. Question number 2 is, who am I right now? How am I feeling right now? Which helps you see the gap in between how you could be and how you are. And question number 3 is the magic question. How do I want to feel right now? Because whenever you answer that question, you immediately draw that energy into your current experience. I want to feel more confident. I want to feel more at ease. I want to feel more patient. However you want to feel, you immediately draw that into your current experience. And if the path of 3 questions doesn't quite get you the results you want, there are a couple of bonus questions. Question 4 is, what's stopping me from feeling the way that I want to feel right now? And hint, the answer is usually some sort of a fear or attachment. And question number 5 is, what am I willing to do right now to feel the way that I want to feel? When you practice that day after day after day and do it 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, what happens is that it becomes the path of one question, that third question, that magic question. How do I want to feel right now? And whenever you ask yourself that question, you immediately begin to shift to feeling the way you want to feel and being the person that you want to be. I want to give the path of 3 questions away to the entire world. This has been an audience of people out there who haven't heard it before that will take that to heart and practice it day after day after day. And I guarantee it will make a big difference in their lives.
Fantastic. And what it creates in my language is it creates a reset, is that it helps them see what's in the gap and reset so that they can align around what they do want and how they could experience that right now. So I love that. So there's so many different ways for people to find that reset. And I love questions. I think they're so easily accessible. You don't have to pay anything for them. They're right at the tip of your tongue. So I think those are really, really powerful, simple questions that people can ask themselves every day.
Awesome. I fully agree.
Where can they find more information about you?
You can find it at 3 different places. There's paulhoyt.com, which is my business consulting place where you can go find out a little bit more about what I do to help businesses plan their growth. There are 133 hours worth of training videos on there, absolutely free in the free resources section. And for those people who maybe you're struggling a little bit in business or facing a lot of opportunities, I've worked with hundreds of business owners over the last 23 years, and I might be able to help you make sure your next steps are the right steps. With mindsequencing.com, you can find out more about my mind sequencing program and how you can learn to have structured self-talk on steroids and learn to lift your spirits whenever you want. And with the Focused Mind community, you can join in with a group of other people who believe strongly in the power of focused attention and the power that we all have to become the persons that we want to be.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for all of that. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Penny. It's a great joy to see another person who's on the same path and, using all of their skills and their talents to help make this world a better place by sharing people the power of having a reset moment. I'm really glad we reconnected.
Me too. Me too. And thank you all for being here. Without you, there wouldn't be a show. So I'm happy to have had this discussion with you today, to have you hear these golden nuggets that we got from Paul today. So make sure that you're putting this into practice. I think the thing that struck me that I just heard myself say as you were talking, I love you, be happy, be strong. I don't know, everybody think of whatever it is that's going to be their next best thing to shift into your best energy. Find that one word, that sequence of words. Go check out Paul's stuff and know that you can achieve all that you're looking to achieve in your life with less effort and less stress. It just starts with the first step and the first reset moment. So we'll see you all in the next episode. My name is Penny Zanker, and this is Take Back Time. See you then. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.